Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Yeah, welcome in to another rousing rendition of Libservative, the world's smartest podcast and intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. All opinions expressed on this show are our own and not necessarily those of Libservative. Detroit basketball. That's right. Our Pistons are in the playoffs. We are starting very, very late because we had to watch the first half of Game 3, and it's not looking good for the Pistons, so we decided to go ahead and start the show because nobody cares at this point. We'll see where they go from here on in. By the way, Bella Body Snatcher on the ones and twos. He, as always, is Corey Walsh.
He's Dan Griffin, and I'm here.
Yeah, and there's a reason that we're doing the show on a Thursday during the fucking Pistons game as opposed to a Wednesday as we normally would have liked to. And Corey's rolling his eyes. He's looking away. He doesn't. And it's because Corey decided to get bombed on a random Wednesday. And I'm going to tell my side of the story here, Corey, and then you can rebut and tell me where I'm wrong here.
Okay.
So Corey texts Bell and I, was it Monday or Tuesday? And he goes, I might be a little bit late, boys. I'm going to the afternoon Tigers game. And I should have known when he sent that text because not only did he say he was going to the Tigers game, he said, we're Ubering. So when I found out that Corey was going to go to a place that serves alcohol and occasionally overserves alcohol, and he didn't have to drive, I should have put two and two together. I should have known that he was going to get I should have known you were going to get Pete Hegseth drunk.
Yeah.
And you absolutely did. How do I know you got Pete Hegseth drunk? Because I'm sitting here last night. I'm ready to go. Like, I got all my notes ready. I'm logged in here. I'm at Bell's here. We're going, where the fuck is Corey? I'm going, hello? Where's Corey? Where the fuck is Corey? Corey goes, for the first time in 4 years, guys, I got to ask, can we record tomorrow? And we both went, okay. Yep, we should have seen that coming. We 100% should have seen Corey being Pete Hegseth drunk. Absolutely happening. And it did. And here we are on a Thursday. Corey's blushing a little bit. He's a little bit embarrassed.
I got sun. This is sun because I was in the beautiful sun all day yesterday.
I cannot believe that you did not somehow get a drunken disorderly because you were sending us text messages. Yeah, but you were sending us text messages that made absolutely no sense. Bell can back me up on that one.
Arresting me for what? I'm not allowed to stand up for myself? I thought this was America. Huh? Isn't this America? I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
Yeah, go ahead and read some of those texts because I'll decipher them for you.
Should I? Okay, hold on. I got to find him. Here we go. Corey and Bell. Let's go back to before we started talking about other stuff. Here we go. So I said at, what was this? 7:05. Hello? And then at 7:22. And then Corey at 7:38. Boys, for the first time in 4 years, can we record TM? You were coherent there. And then Bell goes, too many drinky poos, Bo Banders? And then I asked, because I was giving you the benefit of the doubt. I asked, or are you on the shitter? And you just said something like that. and then you said, I'm cooked. Can't even log into my new computer, Lori. And then you corrected that to laptop. I said that I like Lori better and we're good for tomorrow. And you said, laugh my ass off, I blew it. And then I said, nice Pete Hegseth impression. And Corey said, got super silly at the baseball field.
Yep, I did.
And then Corey also said, I'm the worst person ever.
In all caps.
And then Bell said, man, you told us just in time. Your timing is impeccable. And then I said, life's not all about eating chicken fingers and getting drunk, which is one of our famous drops, which I can't find. Otherwise, I'd play it right now. And then Corey said, I age, AGE, a couple chicken fingers.
Finders.
You're right. Finders. But doing a shore would be a meds. Not worth it. Tomorrow I'll be top notch.
Here I am.
Life isn't about getting drunk and eating chicken fingers all the time, all right?
I age chicken finders all the time, man.
You know what? A good dry aged chicken finder might be good. Do you have a rebuttal to this opening of the show?
Yeah, I just went downtown.
Got irresponsible.
You had a nice Uber. It was a beautiful day. Watched the Tigers beat the Padres 6-0. Saw a couple home runs.
I thought this was America. Huh?
Joined two guys that were.
I'm sorry,
And we were right on
this was America.
We were right on the first baseline. So we were also walking around and stuff. And we went to the backfield where the patio is, and there were some people chirping at some Padre players, and I was chirping with them. Couldn't remember what I said, but I remember I was yelling some dumb shit. And then we drank our weight in alcohol. And I was fine until I walked in the door. Because I texted you I might be a little late because I was running behind getting back home.
You did not text us that the day of the game. You texted that well before. Days before.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, no, you're right.
We actually have actual audio of Corey walking up his stairs.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Your wife couldn't understand what you were saying.
Yeah, my wife says she couldn't understand the words and that it was probably for the best that I didn't go on the podcast. She said that today because after I said that to you guys,
Fucking white people.
that was 7:50. I was asleep on the couch by 8:15.
It was those chicken finders coming back to get you.
That you doing that midnight wake up just and
no worries.
my wife, God bless her, already had my phone plugged in. I had she had a liquid IV set up on the counter for me the next morning.
That's a good wife.
Yeah, she's a good lady. God bless her.
Yeah. You go out, you get fucked up on beer and chicken finders. And
I didn't even eat any chicken fingers. I don't know what the fuck I was talking about. I had a burger.
I thought this was America. Huh? Isn't this America? I'm sorry.
That's the biggest twist of this whole story that I've heard so far.
There was no chicken finders.
Unbelievable.
I couldn't find them, I guess. No, I ate a burger from Union Station.
It's just a Freudian slip is all that was.
Yeah,
Yeah. Beautiful.
we
Absolutely
gave the Detroit Tigers a lot of money.
Giving Chris Illich more money. That's all he needs. Anyway, that's Corey doing his best Pete Hegseth impression. That's why we're here on a Thursday. Well, and we're not enjoying the Pistons getting obliterated at halftime.
I apologize.
It's not a sports podcast, but that's okay.
I ain't never gonna stop.
I wanted to open the show with just an interesting bit of history. Because on April, was it 18th? Was the 250-year anniversary. We're about to bore you all. I apologize. Actually, I don't. Fuck you. The 250-year anniversary of Paul Revere's infamous ride of the regulars are coming. By the way, he never said the British are coming. He said the regulars are coming. And he did, by the way, a lot of people don't know this, have something very, very similar to the traditional Boston accent that we hear today.
The regulars are coming.
I don't know if a lot of people know that. Boston.
The regulars are coming. You just imagine him yelling down the street. Everyone's like, Christ, shut up, man.
Jesus Christ. It's the most annoying accent in the world. It's not. I actually quite enjoy that accent. It did, honestly, though, the thing that I learned didn't necessarily have to do with Paul Revere's infamous ride. It actually had to do with kind of what led up to Paul Revere's infamous ride. I'm curious if either of you know this interesting bit of history. So,
I know it, but I can't recall it.
The Boston Tea Party is what this piece is about. What do you know about the Boston Tea Party? Like, what caused the Boston Tea Party?
It was,
I know. I was going to say what I know.
I believe.
Right. I was going to say I know what the general consensus is that. What movie was it in the was it Dazed and Confused, where the teacher, right before they leave for summer vacation, she's like, don't forget the Boston Tea Party was caused by a bunch of bureaucrats that didn't want to pay their taxes, right? That's the consensus. Here's what's interesting about the Boston Tea Party. I did not know this. The Boston Tea Party was actually a protest against a tax cut.
Wait.
Corey's thinking. He's trying to piece it together. You're not going to get it.
You're not going to like it. You're not going to like it.
It had something to do with the Dutch.
Nope. Nothing to do with the Dutch.
Wait. Didn't they give the tax cut to try to appease the British?
You're getting there.
They were trying to appease the colonists.
So you're getting there. So here's what happened. The Boston Tea Party was a protest against tax cuts because colonists were getting upset over, no taxation without representation, right? We've all heard these things before, right?
Yeah.
And so what the king did was to try to appease his quote unquote enemies at that time. He did give a ton of tax cuts. In fact, removed a lot of taxes to appease the colonists. And he gave a huge tax cut on the importation of tea. That sounds great, right? Like, we all want to cut taxes. We, as people who live in a world of just wanting lower taxes, especially us, quasi-libertarians or whatever the hell you want to call us at this point. We love that. Sounds great, right? Unless you're a colonist who makes your money on smuggling tea.
That's right, because Hancock was kind of a smuggler.
So
Hancock was with the shipping, like the ships. And I think it was his own ship it was on, wasn't it? It was like locked up in the port.
I don't know about that part, but the tea tax was cut so low that there were enough people in the Boston area that made a lucrative living off of smuggling tea that now black market tea was no longer profitable. So
Yeah.
they were the ones that were throwing fucking tea into the harbor because of a tax cut. Fucking liberals. These liberals that love taxes. That's what the Boston Tea Party was mostly about, was actually a tax cut.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the whole
piece of information.
The whole revolution, especially in the beginning, it was just a conglomerate of just a bunch of crazy people, Like, for example, John Hancock, he was a smuggler.
Probably smuggled tea. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not saying that as if I'm
not saying that John Hancock was doing that, but I remember hearing that he was like a smuggler. Like, he wasn't 100% on the up and up.
But yeah, that's something that you didn't learn that in school.
Right.
You were taught that the Boston Tea Party was because the Americans were pissed that they were getting taxed without representation, but really the Boston Tea Party was about a tax cut.
The Boston Tea Party was that after the Boston Massacre?
It was. Yes, it was.
Yeah. So like there was already blood in the water with that whole.
Actually, I don't know. Let me ask ChatGPT. I actually don't know if that's accurate. Was the Boston Tea Party
I love how we
after
out loud just to
the
fill the dead space.
Boston Massacre? I really don't know. I honestly maybe that makes me an idiot, but let's see. Yes, the Boston Tea Party occurred after the Boston Massacre. Boston Massacre was March 5th, 1770. Tea Party was 1773.
I thought so. But yeah, like the blood, even though it was a couple years, the blood was kind of already in the water. There were skirmishes and stuff like that.
So yeah, I learned that from a wonderful podcast called History of the Americans. They did like kind of a sidebar for Paul Revere's ride, the 250th anniversary. I thought that was interesting. It's, you think you know something, you learn something new every day.
Context.
Yeah. Fucking liberals. How about these fucking autism wars? Autism moms are pissed at RFK Jr. Bell's got the video that we'll pull up in just a second of what he actually said. And I will say this. I kind of understand why mothers of kids with autism found this fucking offensive. On the other hand, I think I understand what he was trying to say, but I get why mothers of kids with autism would be unbelievably offended by the words that came out of his mouth. Because what do we know almost more than anything when it comes to politics? Don't fuck with moms, because moms will fuck you up.
Yeah.
That's not it. Bell, that's not it. That's the one with the Pope. That's the Pope video. He just pulled it straight down. He didn't even make a fucking face.
Well,
But-
Dan, you don't label your fucking videos.
I know. I do a really bad job. Bell, let me know what I can do better in the future. He'll find it. But I think the reason that mothers of kids with autism are so upset, and if you haven't seen it yet, we're going to show it. That it's the fact that RFK made a statement that I think a mother of a child with autism could see as him saying that they're hopeless.
Yeah.
Right. That they're bad mothers in some way, that they're attacking their children in some way. Because what's interesting is,
well, not just attacking their children, attacking them. Like if he's
right.
blaming on extenuating circumstances like diet and stuff, that's a direct reflection on the motherhood.
Right. And I have a decent amount of autism in my family. And what I can say is that and any mothers of kids with autism can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think most of these mothers are reasonable in that they would admit that in certain ways, their life and the life of their child with autism would be easier without autism. But also, mothers are mothers in one of the best ways, and this is why we love mothers so much, is that they would also say something to the effect of, we would never change anything about our children. We love our children just the way they are. Right. And so when RFK says things the way that he says them, I can understand why they're offended while also understanding what he was trying to get at. Because I think what he's trying to get at in this, there he is. Bell found it. I think what RFK is trying. Sorry, dude. Like, that's my fault. I think what he's trying to get at is that it would be better if in the future we had less autism, but he just doesn't really say it that way. Go ahead and roll it, Bell.
Right.
It's an individual tragedy as well. Autism destroys families. And more importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which are our children. These are children who should not be suffering like this. These are kids who, many of them were fully functional and regressed because of some environmental exposure into autism when they're 2 years old. And these are kids who will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never play baseball. They'll never write a poem. They'll never go out on a date. Many of them will never use a toilet unassisted. And we have to recognize we are doing this to our children, and we need to put an end to it. This is an individual tragedy as well. Autism destroys families, and more importantly,
yeah, it's just rolling again. But like, it's one of those weird things where like I think I understand what he's trying to say, and what he's referring to is the most severe cases of autism. And I think if you watch the whole speech, you find that, because I did watch most of it, but this is the particular clip that mothers of kids with autism are pissed about. And like I said, I understand why. I get it.
Right.
Because there are
kids that are on the spectrum as well. Like,
and what I think it demonstrated, Corey, was that RFK, or at least what I think it demonstrated to mothers that are pissed about what he said, what I think it demonstrated to them was that RFK just kind of sees autism as a number, almost like it's just like a statistic that we can reduce. Yeah. And a lot of the argument is that it's just like a neurodivergent disorder, if you will. And I think, just speaking from my own experience with a little bit of autism in my family, I think the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle, because the argument is that there's like a boost in research that is diagnosing autism a lot better than it did 30 years ago. And then the other side of the argument is that it's some sort of environmental exposure, which is what RFK is referring to. And as far as those two things go, I think the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. How do I know this? Well, I don't know this, but just anecdotally, I have a member of my family that is on the spectrum and wasn't diagnosed until she was in her 30s, early 40s. Right? So, like, the ability to diagnose autism has improved, which means the numbers are going to grow. But also, the fact that we went from whatever it was, 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 31, I don't think just the ability to diagnose better explains it. I think it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, there might be something that we're just allowing in the water systems, like some, like, you know what I mean? Like
some environmental exposure.
I'm down for the testing, but I hope they don't try to like do that testing. Like, what do you do when it's when you have a conclusion and you're just trying to make a path to it? Like jump science. Like, I don't want jump science.
Working backwards from a conclusion. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like, yeah, do the studies and do the testing so then it's definitive.
Well, and what's interesting
then we just have like at least a little bit of an answer, because even if it is like, let's say they do all this studies and it's not something in our food or something in our water, then great. Now we can stop having that argument. Let's focus on a different alternative.
The other interesting thing that I noticed, just seeing anecdotal comments from mothers of kids with autism, most of them seem to say that, again, this is anecdotal. This is just what I've seen. You can go look it up for yourself. I don't really care. I'm just telling you what I've seen. Most of the mothers are not against the idea of figuring this out, if you will, which is, I think, at the core of RFK's goal. But yes, Corey, to your point of like going to a conclusion and trying to work your way backwards from it, that's kind of the concern. And I get why from those statements, mothers of kids with autism would find what he said remarkably offensive. I get it.
Yeah, well,
I get it.
You get why, right? Because, like, he's, without saying it, it just feels implied that he's saying that they're lesser humans. And those moms love their kids to death, regardless of what shape they're in. You know what I mean? And, like, what size, shape, whatever. They love their fucking children. I see.
Yeah, don't fuck with moms, right?
Right. I've seen moms posting that have, like, autistic children. They're posting on Facebook just like how proud they are of their kid, how much they love them, and how like they're unique and all sorts of stuff like that. There's a very big like autism community. Now, that being said, should there have to be an autistic community, or is there a path to finding a way to help circumvent this disease?
It's almost
is it a
like,
disease? Like, do we even call it a disease? Like, I can't pretend to know a ton about autism.
Neurodivergent. I mean, I don't know that. It's almost like you remember. I mean, we probably don't remember because I don't think we were born yet. But like, I do seem to remember a time where Down syndrome
was kind of targeted like this.
Was super. Yeah, it was almost like because I think there were early like prenatal tests for it, and like it was almost seen as this. Like this horrible diagnosis. And then as time has gone on, it's been like, you know, people with Down syndrome they can hold jobs, right? Like that was kind of the thing about Down syndrome back in the day. It's like if you have Down syndrome, you can't hold a job. You'll never have a girlfriend. All these things that RFK is saying in this video.
Now there's shows about them being in love.
Well, yeah, that's Love on the Spectrum. By the way,
but I remember seeing a video years ago, and that's what like kind of like the why can I think I can even put myself in the shoes of like a parent thinking about this and the way that
was just a few weeks ago. Remember, I played the video on the show, and now I feel bad about it.
There was a
Bell remembers.
Yeah, there's a video from like years ago. I remember seeing when I was younger about someone with Down syndrome advocating against like the prenatal tests and the like the eugenics type stuff and that kind of thing. And he's like, I wouldn't be here. Like, I wouldn't be alive. I wouldn't be able to talk to you. Like, everyone behind me, there was a bunch of people with Down syndrome behind them. They all wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't be able to talk to any of them. We wouldn't be able to experience life. Like, you're talking about killing people. And I just remember thinking like, holy shit, yeah. Like, I mean, we look at it like the way their brain works doesn't necessarily fit the mold of like how society works, like here in America, the 9-to-5 house, car thing, wife, kid. But they're still like actual human beings, and they understand that they exist. They might say it funny.
Yeah, it's also kind of like the CRISPR argument, right? Like if you could choose, it's like if you're and maybe if we have any listeners that are mothers of kids with autism, we would absolutely love to hear your opinion on this. I don't think that you would ever want to change anything about your particular child, right? Like that's how mothers are. They love their babies just the way they are. That's what makes mothers mothers. That's what we love about them, right? But what I've seen is mothers of children with autism with regards to this debate saying, I have no problem necessarily fixing this going forward, or fixing maybe is the wrong word, but like changing this going forward. Like if you could just say that there's no more autism tomorrow without having any negative side effects, would you do it? Most of them say they'd probably be okay with that. But at the same time, I don't want to change anything about my kid.
Right.
Like if you like what they're saying is, if you told me tomorrow that you could quote unquote correct my child's autism, I would tell you go fuck yourself, because they love their kids as they are. That's what makes mothers mothers. That's why they're good at what they do. Right.
Their kid, yeah, the child that they love wouldn't be the same child. It'd be a whole different.
And that's what I think is missed in what RFK was saying in that speech.
Yeah.
I think his head, his heart, his mind was kind of in the right place, but at the same time, absolutely understand why mothers are like, just not happy.
Right. Well, that's true, but it's also you ask those same mothers, is it a struggle sometimes? More, do you
They would
think
all
you
admit
struggle-
they would all admit that yes.
Yeah. Do you think you struggle more than other parents do? They would probably all say yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if other parents don't want to deal with it, like yeah, it's a yeah, and that's a good little subjective argument, like conversation, because that one is like there's no.
Is that your closing argument?
Yeah.
Closing argument? You're not making an argument. You're just making a statement.
My closing statement.
I'm just too busy watching the Pistons and trying to make them.
Yeah, they're
trying to will them into victory. Do you give a shit about this latest Pete Hegseth signal fuck up with his wife? I am having a really hard time caring. I just don't care.
What about Pete Hegseth? Sorry, I was looking for
You were Pete Hegseth last night.
the Tigers song.
It's gone. Nobody cares.
It won, man.
I know, but it's a 162 game season. It's not a sports podcast. We got our sports out of the way early on. Do you care? Do you care about Pete Hegseth and his his latest signal screw up?
The guy is like a colander when it comes to keeping secrets.
I thought this was America. Huh?
Like his
Isn't this
phone
America?
probably looks
I'm
like
sorry, I
mine
thought
did
this
last
was
night, but
America.
every day. Just blurry and vibrating. It's just.
I just don't care. This wasn't as bad as the first one, and then the first one was probably Mike Waltz's fault, and they just I don't know.
Yeah,
it's hard for me to care because like the anti-Trump media picks these things up to try, and they do make it way bigger than it is.
Well, let's try to be unbiased. Bell, look up and see if there was any like data leaks or any sort of leaks like this during the Biden administration. Because there probably was a couple. I mean, he had fucking classified documents just sitting in his fucking garage.
He's probably just talking about his cars and how he almost burned his house down.
My 67 Corvette.
That's exactly right. He's just talking to George Santos.
Don't get bogged down by all the haters out there.
That's what George Santos said to.
Yeah, the Biden.
Said to Joe Biden.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. Like, it's like get your shit together, Hegseth.
Yeah, it's the truth lies somewhere in the middle. What you got for us, Bell?
So there was a cyber attack by Russia in 2020. Everybody knows that. It was one of the biggest data breaches and one of the biggest cyber espionage incidents to ever occur.
So I was looking for
under Joe Biden.
Right.
It was kind of at the end of Trump.
You can't really put that on Joe Biden, to be honest.
Getting
There's a lot of
hacked,
shit you can put on him, but not that.
Versus like
I know,
leaking something. So no, I guess they had a little bit of a tighter ship.
But doesn't that kind of give credence to the folks that are like, there's somebody on the inside trying to fuck with Pete Hegseth?
They were saying that last time.
So here's this. It's a company called SolarWinds, which is a Texas-based company, was not doing their security clearances correctly, and that's how, because they were a contractor for the United States government, and that's how Russia got all the data, was through them. Microsoft Office 365.
Oh, so yeah, some of their malfeasance led to that hack happening. Okay, yeah, no, that's fair. That's almost pretty much what is happening with Pete Hegseth and Mike Walls.
Yeah, boy, whatever. I just don't care. I'm on to the next thing. Pope Francis gone.
Recruiting numbers are up, I guess, so with the military.
Well, yeah, because we're sitting here about to go to war with Iran, so all the rednecks in Arkansas are like, fuck them towel heads and want to get to fucking war. Right? It's fine.
I'm sitting tired of shooting squirrels. Let me go over there and shoot some people that don't look like me.
We just
I don't
lost
understand
every
it.
listener in Arkansas.
I don't understand the geopolitical conflicts happening. They're gonna buy me a truck.
What? You're either with us or you're with the terrorists. That's right. Pope Francis gone too soon. Can we agree on that? It's just
like
too soon.
88.
It's too young.
You think you'll live to 88, Dan?
Dude, he looked. Every picture of him over the last 4 years looks like a different human being. Have you looked at this like slideshow? He looks different every time.
I haven't.
There's a conspiracy.
Pull that up, Bell. No,
they're replacing him. They forced. I don't know who they is, but they forced him into the Pope Mobile on the day of his death. Did you see this? They said you got to take one last ride hours before his death on Easter Sunday.
Jesus.
You gotta go.
That's what it was about.
You gotta go take just one last ride.
Well, what if it was his choice? What if his buddy was? What if the guy that drives is like, "Hey, buddy, one more little wraparound." Yes.
And then he said, his last words were something like, "Thank you for returning me to the square." I don't know if that's true. I'm just talking shit. Everyone, please, as the Pope lies in state just yesterday, as we talk on Thursday, April 24th, please line up and take a fucking selfie with the dead Pope. What kind of world do we live in? Like, can you imagine? Bell, you work in a funeral home.
It's not weird.
How many people take fucking selfies with the dead bodies that roll?
Lots of people.
Seriously?
Here, you want to be cultured?
No.
We are the only people that don't do it, and we used to do it.
Like you as in the funeral people, or you as in Americans?
White people.
Oh, white people.
You said we're the ones that don't do it?
We're the only culture that doesn't think it's appropriate, even though we used to at one time think it was appropriate.
I guess that makes me racist.
A lot of cultures live stream, and then they take pictures and have photographers come in and do
because they'll have family members overseas and stuff.
Yeah, but they still have people come in, photographers, and make videos and do whatever, dude.
With the dead body?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So we're the ones that are ass backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking white people.
That's why it's like death is a really taboo thing in America.
Yeah, death is sanitized.
If you're American,
if
you're from somewhere else and you have a funeral here, it's a pretty normal thing to them, to different cultures.
But okay, so isn't there a difference between doing it for personal interests, as in like whatever your thing is? I don't know, maybe you want one last picture, whatever it is. It's weird to me, but whatever.
It's a remembrance thing.
But live streaming it on Instagram, isn't that like a different? Is that still taboo across other cultures?
It's probably like a Zoom typically, but people.
Well, Zoom, sure. Anything in a private circuit, okay.
Yeah, we do it on our website through a special link. That's how we do it.
God, I don't ever want to die.
Well, dude, these people, like a lot of these people that are probably from other countries, they're old. And they have a lot of family back home that isn't able to afford coming over.
I have no issue with holding up a Zoom and having a private moment with somebody overseas in your family. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that are like, go to the fucking Pope as he's lying in state and go and smile while they have the fucking dead Pope in the background and throw it on goddamn Instagram.
Yes, they hire people at funerals to come in and take pictures of people standing in front of the casket with their person.
But wait, I think there's a disconnect here. Are they using it for like personal stuff, or are they using it to go? Yes. There's a difference there, right?
There's a big difference. Yeah.
You think anyone's doing it for clout?
That's crazy.
Yes, there's tons. In fact, Bell's got a.
Come on now, you expect me to believe that?
I I sent a video to Bell of a newscast from Great Britain about people rolling in to see the Pope lying in state, which I think that is the weirdest fucking thing. Like, why? Because somebody is like a famous quote unquote world leader, do we have to lay them out for the entire world to pass by to pay their respects to?
Yeah. I guess
We do it
so,
with
but-
presidents. It's fucking weird. They did it with Ernie Harwell, for God's sake. If you're not from
so
the
I got a
Detroit area,
question.
look him up.
How do you get into that short list to be the Pope? Like, how do you throw your hat in the ring? Like, do I just?
Pretty sure you have to be a cardinal, bro.
So I'm an ordained minister.
You have to be a cardinal, which takes a lot of time. We're educating.
He's also
Corey
a
on-
lord.
We're educating.
Yeah, I'm a
Corey
Lord
on-
of Scotland, and I'm an ordained minister.
You are, but you're not Catholic.
I can be.
But he's a lord of
You have to-
Scotland, dude.
You have to.
I'm
you
an
have-
ordained
you-
minister. Like, fuck it, I'll do it. I'll be the next Pope. I think
You
I'm
have to.
Pope.
Nope. You have a long way to go. You have to first become a priest in the Catholic Church. You then have
Look
to
at your
become.
old pictures.
You then have to become a cardinal.
Ew, gross.
I don't want to
And
be a
you-
bird.
And then you then have to become the leader of your local archdiocese. Then you can throw your hat in the ring for Pope. It's going to take you a while.
Yeah. You know, there'll probably be another DEI hire from someone from Latin America. They won't take me,
Yeah.
the white person.
That's right. Dude, it's weird. The progressives loved this Pope.
They took our jobs.
The progressives love this Pope, and they loved him for the reasons that you would expect progressives to love this Pope. It's great. It's, gay marriage and
No, he wasn't gay
climate
marriage.
change.
He just said you can
Climate
bless civil
change.
unions.
yeah, sure, whatever.
He was
Close
pro
enough.
immigrant, so like because Jesus even was all about
Super
that.
into immigration. And what was the other thing? He was big on climate change, which was kind of bizarre for a Pope. But anyway, go ahead and roll the video, Bell. We got to see this. People just
Well, it has
taking
caused
selfies.
shock around the world, Miriam and Tom. And
Shock.
in fact, I do think the Vatican are trying to get a handle on this very quickly. I've just been speaking in the past few moments to people who have been leaving the Basilica, and they're telling me that they're being told by guards at the front by the open coffin that photos are strictly prohibited. You are now only allowed to take photos at the front of the Basilica when you first enter. They must be aware that this has alarmed people around the world. These reports of people taking smiling
pretty hot.
selfies and even live streaming the open coffin on TikTok. Earlier, I spoke to people in St. Peter's Square who just left the Basilica and had just seen Pope Francis lying in state. And I asked them what they thought about people streaming online.
To be honest, someone who lives in the 21st century and with this generation, I think it's just people that are young that are trying to capture that moment and appreciate it. But also there's this boundary of we're
You
living in
guys
a
are
mixture
taking
of the
photos, thank you.
millennials and the Gen Zs, that there needs to be some sort of respect,
yeah, look at me with the Pope.
especially when there's a corpse. Yes, capture the moment if you want to for yourself, but to do the little TikTok dances, I think it's a little bit of a stretch.
Oh, I think that's so sad.
Yeah,
It's such
dude.
a special, privileged moment to actually have a place to go and see the Pope. I was really shocked by that, yeah, and just it's just a unfortunate decision that some people took.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize that was happening. Someone told me that in the queue. So yeah, it's disappointing. That people would do that instead of just paying their respects.
For me, it feels completely disrespectful. I think even though if you are Catholic, you're Christian, even if you're
She
not,
was the one doing
I
TikTok
think it's
dances.
just a person, and it's like
He
you
looks
don't
like it.
go to a place where it's something
Yeah, we got
someone
kicked out.
there and took photos of a normal family. I think it's that for me it's not a nice thing to do.
That's
It is a
absolutely
self-
insane.
Isn't it?
Oh, so just a group showing up
Self-obsessed,
doing the
social
Harlem
media
Shake. Like,
That's the whole thing, man. It's just like, you cannot. I gotta give credit to my my boy Drew Lane over at the Drew Lane Show. He goes, what did he said on last night's podcast? He goes, do you think that you get a longer queue of TikTokers? This isn't a direct quote, but do you think you get a longer queue of TikTok quoters if the person is hot?
I just think it's about I just think
about this real hard.
Down to like,
well, the point was if you laid Sydney Sweeney out nude, you could probably charge.
Well, yeah, sure, but are we also like, is that in comparison to the Pope being laid out nude?
Yeah, I think you'd probably get less people to show up if the Pope was laid out nude.
I think you'd get more.
You think? Yeah, because you would want to have. You're right. You'd want to have that Instagram photo with the Pope nude.
Imagine those TikToks.
Everybody just wants to know how big the Pope's hog was.
Some guy on TikTok, Titty City 6969, just added fart sounds to the picture of the Pope.
There is 100% somebody that would jerk off to that. Absolutely. Probably a priest. Let's be honest, a priest somewhere would find that hot. Oh, God damn.
Yeah, maybe you go down on her, dude. Don't be selfish. Don't be a sexist.
It's disgusting. I mean, since Pope Francis,
fuck up, Donnie.
Whatever. I'm not even going to say what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
What led me into this? I hope I sent Bell this video. I was out of sorts on this one. This led me into talking about this. Did you guys see this new Christian task force that the Trump administration wants to bring in? Bell, do you have the video? You can nod yes or no. I think I sent this to you. I did send it to you. Okay. So, yes. So Pam Bondi, Pete Hegseth, and some others in the administration are going for a new Christian task force to bear down on anti-Christian sentiment. And my first thought when I saw this was, hey Elon, hey Doge, where are you on this one? So we're replacing.
He's already spent more. He's already spent more than Biden did in the same amount of time.
That doesn't surprise me. But so we're
anyone who thinks he's making cuts.
So we're replacing trans mice with safe spaces for Christians, a group of memas scolding us for calling Mary out for not really being a virgin. Is that what we're talking about here? Go ahead and roll the video, Bell.
Thank you all for joining us today.
Fantastic
We're
backside.
excited to be here for the launch of the task force to eradicate anti-Christian
She's blonde.
bias
She's not really hot.
outlined in the president's executive order. Joining me today are members of the task force and individuals who have been impacted by the anti-Christian bias. Together, this task force will identify any unlawful anti-Christian policies, practices, or conduct across the government, seek input from the faith-based organizations and state governments to end anti-Christian bias, find and fix deficiencies in existing and regulatory practices that might contribute to the anti-Christian bias. As President Trump has stated, the Biden administration engaged in an egregious pattern of targeting peaceful Christians while ignoring violent anti-Christian offenses. The president is right. Biden's Department of Justice abused and targeted Christians. Pro-life Christians were arrested and imprisoned for peacefully praying outside abortion clinics. The FBI spied on traditional Catholics in their parishes. President Biden declared Easter Sunday to be Transgender Day of Visibility. No longer.
Easter Sunday changes
Vandalism
every year.
against
Give me a
churches
break.
was 8 times higher in 2023 than it was in 2018. As at President Trump's directive, we ended those abuses at the Department of Justice on day one. We dropped 3 ongoing cases against pro-lifers and redefined the FACE Act. to ensure that abuse would not continue and that American tax dollars were not used to support the weaponization of our legal system.
Is that right? So we're talking about the United States of America and their most dominant religion, by the way. Next, it's going to be a policy about protecting men in men's sports, followed by a task force to protect white people's rights to use words like watermelon and fried chicken because the woke left has made them slurs against black people. Like, this is the kind of nonsense we're talking about here. A pro-Christian task force?
Yeah, no, an anti-Christian bias.
To do away with anti-Christian bias? Where have we seen? I know Pam Bondi said something about like pro-lifers being arrested in front of abortion clinics. Honestly, dude, if that actually happened, fuck the cops that arrested them and please let them go.
I think it did happen. I think we talked about it on the show.
Maybe you're right. And like, please let them go. But like, is there like this idea that there's some sort of epidemic of like anti-Christian whatever is absolutely fucking absurd. And by the way,
right, remember there was the whole war on Christmas?
Yeah. It's
remember people were going to Starbucks and getting Merry Christmas written on their or saying their name was Merry Christmas at Starbucks
because they
had to say it.
Yeah, like you could maybe argue that there was sort of like a culture war against Christians. Sure, fine. But
what cracks me up though is like Biden was more of a Christian than Trump is.
He was a Catholic.
And he was a Catholic.
On top of it, R.I.P. Pope Francis. Yeah. There's no this idea that there's like an epidemic of anti-Christian sentiment or like even anti-Christian law, right? To the point where you feel like you need a government task force to protect Christianity. You want to talk about wasting money? You want to talk about wasting taxpayer dollars? Right here, kids. Right here. Pam Bondi does have a fantastic backside, but this is absurd. Corey disagrees.
I love my camera.
Corey's infatuated with his camera. We don't even need to do the rest of this episode.
Just have me going back and forth like this.
All right, we're almost an hour in. I did want to talk about Bill Maher being beside himself over the lefter reaction to his visit.
But yeah, my closing remarks on it now that I'm back on track and not worried about my camera.
Are you even here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you shut up?
Fine. You know what? Fine.
Yep. $5,000 bonus to new mothers. How you feel about that, Corey?
Makes me feel like I should be having another baby.
Do you have a bug in your ear and Austin's talking to you?
No. $5,000.
Can I be very clear about this? This is going to sound maybe weird to some of the pro-Trump people, but I want you to hear me out. Advocating for a $5,000 bonus to new mothers is an anti-woman policy. Ooh, what did he just say? Did he just say it's an anti-woman policy to give single mothers money?
He did, Dad.
Yes, that's exactly what I said. This is the part, and this is supposed to be coming from the party of protecting women. I have a better idea. If you want people to have more kids, stop increasing the cost of baby goods like strollers and car seats through tariffs.
Ooh. Or maybe get rid of protectionist policies, like for things like baby food formula.
There you go. Maybe
Or also
maybe
stop shutting down clinics that help women through pregnancy, as well as non-pregnancy things. But there's also a lot of these clinics that help low-income mothers.
Yeah,
soon-to-be mothers,
maybe not
become
try to get
mothers.
rid of Head Start programs.
maybe reduce tariffs. You guys are talking about big government stuff. I'm going the other direction. Maybe reduce tariffs.
Well, tariffs
maybe
are big government. It ain't me putting tariffs on people.
Maybe reduce taxes in general. See, the data bears this out. I took a deep dive into this yesterday while Corey was wasted. Instead of doing a show, I dove deep into this. The government only succeeds at population control in one direction. All of the metrics bear this out.
Down.
And it's correct. It's down. Why is that? Honestly, it's pretty simple. The only way to get people to have more kids is, in their view, is to give them money and services. What does that do? That costs money, right? Yeah. Somebody has to pay for that. So taxes go up, cost of living goes up, inflation hits, making it even more expensive to have children. Look no further than what happened when Biden and Donald Trump, both, by the way, both almost equally responsible for this, gave out money over COVID, caused the greatest upward transfer of wealth in the history of this country and wild inflation. And maybe that's the goal of the birthers. Maybe that's the goal, to create more government wage slaves. Don't mean to put the tinfoil hat on here, but I think I might have just done so. Birtherism to me is right-wing climate change. It's a concern with some truths, but ultimately it's used to push a big government, borderline socialist, bullshit propaganda. This whole existential threat of, if we don't have enough babies, the world's going to go away. Well, here's the thing. We have over 8 billion people on this planet. A small dip in birth rates over the course of a couple of years is not some indicator that we are fucked anytime soon.
There's definitely a subset of the birtherism too that's talking about the great replacement, and then you're getting into like eugenics and stuff like that, and race.
That's an interesting point too, Corey. Because because
like we clearly,
it's
with
like
our
that
immigration, we clearly can replace our numbers. Yeah. But they don't want other people coming to our country.
That's another great point, because I've seen people make a similar point where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna kick the immigrants out and then complain about how we don't have enough people." Like, make that make sense. So what I think a lot of the birthers miss is the fact that, and the numbers bear this out, a lot of the drop in the birth rate is teen pregnancy, right? Which is something that you would think, that's something that you would think that conservatives would be all for, right? This idea of being promiscuous as a young girl at a young age and getting pregnant before you're ready. Like, it seems like it's something that conservatives would be fine with. But weirdly, old conservative men are masking their real feelings, which is that they actually want young girls to commit to having babies before their brains are fully developed. I don't mean to sound like some fucking woke, what's the word I'm looking for? Feminist. I don't mean to sound like an ally, but like, this is just the reality. Look at the people that are complaining about this. Look at the people that are complaining about the drop in birth rate. It's older conservative men that seem like they kind of want access to young girls. Sorry to say, because the data also bears this out. The Manhattan Institute did a study on this. Birth rates among college-educated women, which is the number that you should be looking at, only because the birth rates among teen pregnancy are way down. So what's the only other kind of demographic here, at least broad demographic? It's college-educated women. Birth rates among college-educated women have remained flat since 2000. Yes, these girls or these women are waiting a little bit longer to have children. However,
women in the 30s and 40s have seen increases,
an increase,
and then women over 45 have seen an increase as well.
Yes,
so 20 in their 20s, from 20 to 24, there's been a decline. But like teenagers from 15 to 19, birth rates have declined. For example, 37.9 per 1,000 in 2009 to 16.7 in 2019.
So young girls,
it's mostly with young girls,
before their brains are fully developed, are no longer having kids. But when you look at college-educated women, they're still having the same amount of children. They're waiting a little bit longer. In 2000, the average age was 28 years old for college-educated women to have babies. It's 28. You know what it is now? 30.
Like 30. Yeah,
it's 30. It's gone up 2 years. So like, this is the whole thing about the birthers. They're not even bothering to pay attention to the numbers here. Not to mention, and this might be a controversial thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway, which is that we live in a world now where AI is taking over. Jobs are getting easier. We talked about why manufacturing leaving the United States is actually a good thing. Please go back and check out our previous episodes if you want to know why that's the case. Doesn't it kind of stand to reason that as you need less of a labor force, that it's maybe kind of okay that we're having a few less kids? Doesn't that just kind of stand to reason? Doesn't that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Am I an idiot? Am I missing something? Or
like even if all these jobs come back, right? Even if it works out where the tariffs and all the reshoring happens, that ain't going to be a plant no more with 100 workers in it. It's going to be a plant with 20, 30 workers in it because automation. Automation is going to be one of the things that brings these companies back home so they can make up for the cheap wages. They're going to do more automation. Like, that's what a company is going to do. That's what a business is going to do. Why does anyone think different? It's not going to be an assembly line with 50 workers on it. There's going to be one person running the assembly line that it has robots.
Yeah, it's almost like if you're forced to go from paying lower wages abroad to having to pay higher wages domestically, you're going to figure out a way to pay not as many wages. Most of that is done through automation. So like,
I've seen it happen in my own plant. It didn't make people, nobody lost their jobs because of it, but it definitely, more automation in there made it to where we didn't have to hire as many people. Like, more hires as we grew, we were getting automation. You know what I mean? So instead of a machine taking 2 people to run, we got a machine that can run by itself. And then those 2 people can do other jobs in the plant, which means that we don't have to hire 2 more people. And we haven't had to because the automation.
Can I just add this other point?
What?
So the whole thing is $5,000 bonus for new mothers. Doesn't that interestingly sound like something that conservatives have bitched about for 30 years?
Yeah.
Sounds like a fat welfare mom thing, doesn't it? Quote unquote.
Yeah.
Also, anybody that goes, $5,000? Well, I wasn't going to have a baby, but now I think I will. Those are probably the people that shouldn't be moms.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
if $5,000 is going to make someone who wasn't thinking about having a kid to having a kid, they're probably not the one who should be having the kid.
Absolutely. And it's just like, it's just so ass backwards. There's only one way. I'm going to tell you right now, there's only one way to get, we'll just use the American population as an example because that's our listener base. There's only one way to get Americans to have more kids. It's very, very, and it's actually very, very simple. It's what we thought Doge was going to be in the first place. You have to shrink the size and scope of government. I don't mean to get all libertarian on you, but that's all it is. You have to have a smaller government, to pay lower taxes, to stop with protectionism. Just let people,
let there be an innovation windfall.
Yeah, not even
let there be 50 experiments going on in our country instead of one big bureaucratic mess.
Not even give people money, because that's socialist nonsense. All you have to do is just let people keep more of their own money that they've earned. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
Just stop taking my money from me.
It's mind-boggling to me that they want more people to have kids, but then they're getting rid of programs like Head Start. Like, what was one of the biggest complaints?
Yeah, but even that, Corey,
but kids still had to work from home. Remember when there was that phase when parents were allowed to go to work, and then all of a sudden everyone realized just how important schools were, and that it almost kind of gave up the gambit. Also, that they're basically a fucking just daycare.
It also grew homeschooling in private schools, and
that's all affluent people though. Homeschooling.
Well, but it made all parents more aware of what actually was going on in their schools, which is that, reading, writing, and arithmetic was not the most important part of public schooling anymore. You don't know, because you're in the Montessori cult, so you don't even know that part.
I know that my kid's learning reading, writing, and arithmetic, so.
Because you're in the Montessori cult. I didn't say the Montessori cult wasn't better than the public school cult. I just said it was a cult. You have anything else, Corey? Do we have anything else we missed? Iran talks? I don't know.
Dude, so the Iran talks crack me up because...
I know you got your TikTok videos.
The Iran talks crack me up because it's looking like it's leaning towards them just redoing the stands for badass motherfucker, bright and nice.
Yeah.
But it's basically getting boiled down to the same nuclear talks that Obama had in place with Iran.
Which was honestly fine. It was better than what we had afterwards.
Yeah. 3.4% enrichment or something like that.
Well, and dude, the Israeli hawks with this whole discussion have...
and then another one that he's doing also is he's also basically trying to reinstitute the TPP. Remember the Trans-Pacific Pact or whatever with Korea and Japan? It was basically a NAFTA, but for the Asian area.
Yeah. Interesting how that works, doesn't it? Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know as much about that one, but I can speak on the Iran talks. The Israeli hawks are essentially saying the quiet part out loud, which is that it's not about stopping Iran from getting nukes. It never is. It never has been. It never was. It was about just Western, and that includes Israeli hegemony in the Middle East. It's about regime change. Which we already knew. In fact, Mark Dubowitz had just an absolute tweet that said an absolute tweet that said the quiet part out loud, which was that the Islamic Republic is weaker than ever, hated by most Iranians, hammered by the IDF and Mossad. Its terror armies, air defenses, missile production capability are in ruins. Never a better time to dismantle its nuke program and finish off the regime. Will another POTUS blink? It's just the exact same playbook from Iraq. It's the whole, Iraqis hate the regime. We got to get in there and do something. They want it. We'll be greeted as liberators. Right? We're always greeted as liberators. That's all well and good. He could even be right. Maybe the Iranians really do want the West to come and liberate them. I have a feeling it's a lot more nuanced than that, but let's just pretend for a moment that it's true. What happens when you take out the regime in Iran? What's the plan after that? Nobody has an answer. Nobody ever has an answer. Nobody had an answer after Iraq. Nobody had an answer after Afghanistan. Nobody had an answer after Libya. Nobody had an answer after Syria. It's amazing how they never have an answer as to what comes after you take out what is maybe an evil, let's just, for the sake of argument, say an evil regime that provides stability to the region. Nobody ever has an answer for what you replace it with. Because what did we do in Iraq? We threw in a puppet government that was basically taken out in, I don't know, was it months? Yeah. What happened in Afghanistan? Nothing. The Taliban still runs Afghanistan. What's going on? What happened in Libya? It's basically the slave trade capital of the fucking world. What happened in Syria? It's basically run by Al-Qaeda. Oh, by the way, Al-Qaeda's on our team now. Don't believe me? Go fucking look it up. So what happens when you displace the regime in Iran? Nobody has an answer for that. All we know is that Israel thinks they're dirty towel heads that need to be taken out.
Yeah,
that's all we know.
We can topple governments, no problem. It's just building them is like our issue.
Oh, we're nation builders. It's just the same nation builder bullshit narrative that we've heard for 30 fucking years now, and here's the thing. I'm going to give the American people credit for this. Most of us, we're not buying it anymore. We're not, unless you're Mark Levin. You're not buying the bullshit anymore. It's nonsense. But somehow diplomacy is what's the whole Neville Chamberlain thing? Appeasement. We're just appeasing a terrible regime. Maybe they are a terrible regime. Maybe they are. What's worse? Having a terrible regime that does their own thing in their own place? Or World War III?
And yeah, World War III, or an unstable fucking just mess. Another one.
I couldn't have put it any better myself. To the point where we have demands in the last week for Tulsi Gabbard, who you and I have just gone. You still have her poster in the background. You haven't taken it down, to your credit, Corey. Gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on who she actually is. But in this case, we have demands for Tulsi Gabbard, the head of intelligence, to change quote unquote stupid intelligence about Iran to say that they are, in fact, pursuing nuclear weapons. All of the intelligence community says that they're not. But we need Tulsi Gabbard to change that intelligence to scare you into believing that war with Iran is the proper course of action. Hit that backspace key, Secretary Gabbard. We got to scare our population of dummies into another war.
Right. Hey, Tulsi, we got to bring back the threat level alert.
It's not good enough. It's not where it's supposed to be. We need to do this to benefit a foreign regime and get Lockheed and Raytheon stock prices back up. The same goddamn playbook.
Remember on plasma TVs that, like, if you had like something on the TV in one spot for too long, it would like burn it out? How many people do you think had like the threat level thing in the corner like etched into their TV?
Oh, yeah, I was up there. Threat level yellow, threat level orange, threat level red. Oh, we're in trouble now. There's going to be a bomb tomorrow. Dude, this is like this is like if you went, "Oop, the tobacco lobby just called. Hey, Dr. Bhattacharya, can we just backtrack on the whole cigarettes cause cancer thing? Altria's stock's about to take a hit." That's what this is.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. But if I say that, what am I, Corey? You can say it. Tell me what I am. You know what I am? Begins with an A. It ends with an ite. You thinking that hard?
No, I know what it is. An anti-Semite.
I'm an anti-Semite.
There's a soundbite.
Somebody will pull that once we get more famouser. Yeah, it's just like common sense is anti-Semitism at this point. You don't want Israel to exist. Don't think that's what I said. There's so much of that going on with the Dave Smith versus Douglas Murray debate. You listened to that episode of Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah, I did.
You're familiar with the whole thing. It's this idea that it's just this appeal to authority nonsense. It's this whole, if you go against the official narrative, you're an anti-Semite. Just like 5 years ago, if you went against the official narrative, what were you? You were a racist. You were a Nazi. You know, you have Daryl Cooper being called out by morons like Douglas Murray who have never actually listened to a word he's actually said, saying things like, oh, Daryl Cooper says that Hitler wasn't actually that much of an anti-Semite, which is not at all what Daryl Cooper has ever said. Just shifting the narrative to mean what you want it to. What Daryl Cooper actually said was that for political gain, during certain times of his rise, Adolf Hitler hid his anti-Semitism. Right? Look no further than, and multiple people have pointed this out. I am not the first.
Olympics.
But look no further than the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, where they pulled down all of the anti-Semitic shit because Hitler realized that geopolitically, it's probably not a good look for me. It's what every politician does. And all Daryl Cooper ever pointed out was, at the end of the day, Hitler was a politician. And to be honest, if you look at where he got, a pretty good one. Does that make me an anti-Semite to say that? Am I an anti-Semite to say that Adolf Hitler was actually a pretty goddamn good politician?
Well, no, because being a good politician and being a good person aren't the same.
Is not a compliment, by the way. I think I've said that multiple times on this show. When I see somebody's a really good politician, that's not a compliment. It's a skill, but it's not a compliment coming from me.
I just don't want my kid going to fight in a war in 10 years, Dan.
Corey, you and most other Americans right now, we're not buying the bullshit anymore. And people go, oh, Dan, you don't have any kids. You can't possibly know what it's like to be a parent or to have to send a child off to war or to have the threat of sending a child off to war. But you know what I do have? I got people like my buddy Corey over here who does have a son. And I go, yeah, I don't want to see my buddy's kid go off to war. Bell's got a kid. And stepkids, or I don't know Bell's situation anymore, but he's got kids that he cares about, plus his own kid. I got a little boy that lives next door. My next door neighbor is a good friend of mine. My best friend. Everybody I know has kids. As if I can't possibly care about your kids, Bell's kids, my neighbor's kids, all my friends' kids. Of course I fucking care about those kids. You can't possibly know. Yeah, you're right. I can't possibly know what it might be like for my own child, at least not yet, to have the threat of being sent off to war. But I do have a lot of kids in my life, nieces, nephews as well, that I absolutely fucking don't want to see sent off to war. And if they were and they died, would I be as devastated as the parents of those kids? No. But I'd be right there with you. I'd be right there with you, Corey. I'd be right there with you, Belle. I'd be right there with either of my sisters who have kids. I'd be right there with all of my friends. I can't just because I don't have kids doesn't mean I don't care about kids or can't possibly know what it's like to care about kids. I hate that argument. It's like the whole, you're not a dad, you can't possibly understand. Well, sure, but I have a dad. I know what it's like to be on at least one end of that spectrum. I know what it's like to have parents. As I dive off into another tangent. I'm getting drunk now because the Pistons are about to lose.
I know. You're just going on like sneaking peeks at the TV, watching the score just like gap.
Detroit basketball.
We don't know what it's like to have a winning basketball team in this town. Haven't for a while. But anyway, you got anything else, Corey? Oh yeah, we got to get to your TikToks. Let's roll into those. Let's have some fun with some TikToks. Al, you got Corey's TikTok. Did you use any of my suggestions?
I did not.
Like the guy firing off shit out of his Tesla?
I didn't because that seemed staged.
It was totally staged, but it was funny as hell.
Eat shit. Sorry,
Eat shit, bud.
Yeah. So the first one is Paul Newman. And I like this one because it kind of is similar to the book like Manufacturing Consent by Noam Chomsky, talking about how when one person does something, it's the end of the world, but when another person does the same thing, it's like brushed off. And it's just all based on like just another example of how media manipulation can make people care and not care about the same exact act happening. Is this kind of a worthy versus unworthy victims type of thing? Yeah, pretty much. And this is him in like in the 70s talking about it, or 80s. Go ahead and hit that. Roll that. Go ahead and beam footage. Roll it, Bill.
Zionist playbook, additional talking points, and how to counter them.
That's
there
not
was
it.
Never a Palestinian.
There it is.
1978 or 79, the Israelis shot down a Libyan civilian aircraft because it had violated Israeli airspace. President Nixon sent a wire to Gaddafi and to Sadat apologizing for this incident. There was no talk about it going into the United Nations. The International Pilots Associations had their meeting. There was 102 nations that voted to condemn Israel, and 4 that voted not to, and the American representative abstained. Why? Because we couldn't create an enemy there. But when the Soviets shoot down an airliner, the same situation, we rise in moral outrage against this act. What is the difference? Because it's insistent. We must insist that the Soviets have got to be created as an enemy. Otherwise, if they're not really a big enough enemy, how are we going to get appropriation?
He was probably blacklisted for that.
Well, he did create a delicious line of dressing following
did
that.
He?
Was that pre or post slap shot? Because he created some great sports movies. But dude, you know what? He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. If it always depends on who commits the act, right? If Saudi Arabia, no, Saudi Arabia is a bad example because they're our ally. But if Iran is attacked by some outpost in northeast Iran and kills whatever it is, 2,500 Iranians in an October 7th style attack, do you think the United States is out there throwing a fit and sending aid to Iran to get rid of the terrorist threat over there? No. Because why? Because Iran doesn't have an APAC to buy influence in the United States. Again, what I just said is probably going to be misconstrued somewhere as anti-Semitism. I'll go ahead and own the fact that that's probably coming.
Yeah, that's pretty wild too, right? That like certain countries are allowed to basically lobby representatives, but then other countries, if they do it, like you're a traitor.
Yeah, that's it. That's all. What's the next one?
So this one, I'm not exactly sure why it says this guy was booed and then it was a Jordan Peterson event. What he was saying was basically talking about how the elitists in our country through the 40s and the 50s like rose to power through the system that we had that was great when the American dream was good, and then they kind of just shut the door on everyone when they got to the top. So go ahead and roll that one, Bell.
Members of the educated elite did some good things. We created the internet brunch and mocktails. You're welcome. We did some bad things. We designed a meritocracy designed around the skills we ourselves possess and rigged the game so we succeeded and everybody else failed. By age 12, American children of affluent kids are 4 grade levels above everybody else. By university age, rich kids are 77 times more likely to go to university or to Ivy League university than kids from poor schools. In adulthood, 54% of the people at elite workplaces went to the same 34 elite colleges. So we ended up creating a caste system. People with high school degrees die 9 years sooner than people with college degrees. People with high school degrees are 5 times more likely to have kids out of wedlock. People with high school degrees are 2.4 times more likely to say they have no friends. So we created a caste system, even though we pretend to be egalitarian. But the worst things we did were not material. America has a very strong economy. The worst things we did were spiritual. We privatized morality and destroyed the moral order. George Marsden is a great historian who said, what gave Martin Luther King's rhetoric its power was the sense there's a moral order built into the universe. That if slavery is not wrong, nothing is wrong. If segregation is not wrong, nothing is wrong. We took that essential moral order that holds people together and we decided it's up to you to find your own truth, find your own values. Back in 1955, a great American journalist named Walter Lippmann understood this was going to be a big problem. He said, if what is right and wrong depends on what each individual feels, then we are outside the bounds of civilization. And so without a strong moral order, it's hard to have trust. It's hard to find your meaning in life. And so America, and I think Britain too, has become a sadder society. Rise in mental health, rise in suicide. 45% of high school students say they are persistently hopeless and despondent. 2000, the number of Americans without close personal friends is up by 4-fold. Since 2000, the number of people who say they are in the lowest happiness category is up by 50%. We've just become sadder. The third thing the educated elite has done, and this may not please you, is we produced Donald Trump. Some people think Donald Trump is a populist. Donald Trump and Elon Musk
I see where
went to
this is
University of
going.
Pennsylvania and Ivy League school and became billionaires. J.D. Vance went to Yale. Pete Hegseth went to Princeton and Yale. Stephen Miller went to Duke. Fox News types like Laura Ingraham went to Dartmouth. And they represent the educated elite. And the key factor of the educated elite is that they're not pro-conservative, they're anti-left. They don't have a positive vision, a conservative vision for society. They just want to destroy the institutions that the left now dominates. And this means, in the first place, they're astoundingly incompetent. I have a lot of sympathy with what drove people to vote for Trump, but I'm telling you, as someone who's on the front row to what's happening, do not hitch your wagon to that star. Thank you. You're supposed to boo. Pete Hegseth gave away our bargaining chips with Putin before we even had negotiations. Elon Musk has 25-year-olds firing people who are controlling our nuclear codes. It's like Sam Bankman-Fried got control of our nuclear arsenal. Second, elite narcissism causes them to eviscerate every belief system they touch. Conservatives believe in healthy societies are built on healthy institutions. They're anti-institutionals. Conservatives believe in steady and gradual change, Edmund Burke. They're disruption. Conservatives believe in constitutional government. Donald Trump says, I alone can fix this. Conservatives believe in moral norms. They're destroying moral norms. The other belief system that they are destroying is Judeo-Christian faith. Judeo-Christian faith is based on service to the poor, service to the immigrant, service to the stranger. I went to Namibia, South Africa throughout the 1990s and 2000s, and I watched people die of AIDS. Then I went back with my friend Mike Gerson, and I saw those 25 million lives saved. I saw people living lives of dignity. And so what's the first thing Donald Trump did? He eviscerated that program. My friends in America are conservative evangelicals in government who want to fight sex trafficking, poverty. They want to preserve national security. Donald Trump is declaring war on those Christians. So don't.
A lot of claps. I'm not hearing a lot of booing.
That's why I said I don't understand why it says
we
booing.
educated elites
Because
brought
they don't
you.
really boo them.
We destroyed the social fabric through inequality. We destroyed the moral fabric through privatizing morality. And we destroyed the institutional fabric. What's happening right now? How can we come back? Well, we already are. I often ask people, tell me about a time that made you who you are as a human being. And they never say, I went on a fantastic vacation in Hawaii. They never say that. They say, I went through a really hard time. The death of someone, the loss of someone, moving away from home, entering a new vocation. Paul Tillich, the theologian, said those moments of suffering interrupt your life and they remind you you're not the person you thought they were. They carve through the floor of your basement of your soul and they reveal a cavity below, and they carve through that floor and they reveal a cavity below. In moments of suffering, you see yourself in a more deep way than you ever did before. And in those moments of suffering, you can either be broken or you can be broken open. And people who are transformed decide, I'm going to be broken open. And nations that are going to be transformed by moments of suffering say, we're going to be broken open. We've been through periods of national crisis before. Across the world, nations have constantly hit a spiritual and cultural crisis and then revives. This country between 1820 and 1848. I was here in the 1980s. Britain recovered in the 1980s. Australia in the 1970s, Germany and Japan after World War II, South Korea in the 1980s, Rwanda after 1994, Chile in the 1990s. My own country, we've done this again and again. We've grown not through a happy, merry ride. We've grown through a process of rupture and repair when society and culture is in crisis and we figure it out. 1770s, the old colonial order had to go. Sorry. 1830s, the East Coast elite had too much power. Andrew Jackson brought in an era of populism. 1860s, the slavery order had to go. Abraham Lincoln brought forth national redemption. 1890s, we had failed at industrialization. We had a civic.
I didn't realize
from all
you
these civic
had
organizations
brought forth
that
a
filled in the hole
12-minute
and created
video.
a sane society.
I think it's only like 3 minutes.
1960s, the conformist culture of the 1950s had to go. And we had the changes that came there. The temptation of those who don't read history is to think this time is different. We're in another period of rupture and repair.
Blah, blah, blah.
Resources. I'm a conservative. I believe that we are inheritors of a great spiritual legacy, what Michael Oakeshott called the Great Conversation. We have the voice of Genesis.
Take forever to say nothing.
We're all made in God's image.
That's the one I was
foundation
looking
of
for.
democracy. We have the voice of Exodus.
And so you remember he's
through the wilderness,
talking in a conservative
eventually get to
thing.
the promised land.
So he's
We have
like,
the voice of Jesus.
Well, I'm blowing it out. Yeah. So
so like he definitely like there towards the end, it was like from more of like a conservative, like evangelical standpoint. But what he was saying in the beginning about like the elitists, like basically building themselves a pedestal and then pulling the ladder up. That isn't just for conservatives. That's a message for the elitists on the left and the right, because they're all in cahoots together. You know what I mean?
Which is what we've said for a long time. And I had a minor disagreement with what he said early on when he was talking about, you know, the destruction of moral fabric. This is something that I have really, really come to take as a just a tenet for my own life. It's not about moral fabric. It's about fucking principled fabric. You know, when you enter a debate, when you enter an argument, it's so much more important to put your principles above your morals, because your morals nobody gives a shit about. You like if you're conservative and you have conservative morals, that's fine.
We had this conversation in my philosophy class recently, actually. Like what principles are like the most important, whatever. And because if you're principled in like personal liberty, then regardless of what your morals are, if you're truly principled in the idea of personal liberty, you're not going to fuck with somebody. Whether you think fucking with somebody is right or wrong, if you're principled and just not fucking with somebody and upholding their personal liberties to them like you expect someone to do to you, which also ties into Christianity, right? Like the golden rule. But yeah, no, it's yeah, I see what you're going with, you know, the principles over morals.
But he is absolutely right. And I think this is kind of the warning, similar to the warning that we gave to people back in September, October, November. We get it if you want to vote for Trump. That's why we didn't shit on people that voted for Trump. We totally get it, because we saw the destruction and the decrease in this man, as this man talked about, the moral fabric of the Democratic Party. You and I, Corey, people that had traditionally been on the Democratic side for so long, particularly before we started the show. Like we saw the destruction in personal liberty. We saw the destruction in, you know, the idea, just the idea of free speech. But we also warned people. I warned personal friends of mine on this too. Like, go ahead and vote for Trump. Go ahead and cast that ballot. I'm not going to shit on you. I get it. Totally get it. But I want you to get ready for what happens when he takes office, because you are going to see the same destruction based on social and culture war issues that we're seeing from the left, except it's just going to be from the other side. But from a principled perspective, it's going to be exactly the same. You're going to have him destroying free speech, aka deporting people that are here legally but just saying the wrong things, and then having people like Tim Pool do hour-long podcasts on why, oh my God, we're shedding tears for MS-13 members when we don't even know that they're actual MS-13 members. And even if they are, what we do know is that they haven't committed a crime in the United States or abroad at this point. It's like saying you're a Crip or you're a Blood, we're putting you in prison. It's not illegal. It's not illegal to be a Crip or a Blood, is it? Am I wrong? Bell, Corey, can somebody point to, like, am I allowed to be a member of the Crips or the Bloods? I think I'm allowed to be a gang member.
I don't know how you go through the application process, but I'm sure you could get into one of them, Dan.
If I were outside wearing blue and red and said I am a member of one of these, or red, and I am a member of one of these gangs, is there any legal precedent to throw me in prison for simply being a member of these organizations? I don't believe there is.
No, I don't think there is.
Don't I have to commit a crime?
I know private establishment wants to say no colors allowed in here, and like,
that's their right.
If you have,
as is their right as a private business, right?
Police might be able to question you and stuff like that, but
I did not commit a crime by jumping on here and going, I'm a Crip or I'm a Blood. I didn't commit a crime by doing that, did I?
I don't know. We'll find out if you're in El Salvador or not soon.
All right. Can I speak to the federal government for just one moment?
You did. Yeah, sure. I'm not stopping you.
I'm an MS-13 member.
Jesus Christ, Dan.
I'm a citizen. I haven't committed a crime. They're going to shut down my truck on the way to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to get fucking Michael Hastings.
Probably.
It's just nonsense. Culture war bullshit. You have any more?
Yeah, I am
TikTok videos.
In fact, I am not an MS-13 member.
I don't believe you. Show me your tattoos.
I don't know. Maybe I think that one means
even the one on your cock.
No, I don't show anyone that. It's only
Deported.
But
We
no,
have
I don't
privilege.
Not only do I not want to claim being a part of a gang that I'm not a part of for the sake of the government trying to fuck with me, but the gang itself, like, those guys are pretty serious about that stuff.
I think they know I'm not actually an MS-13 member, but the federal government might not. I have way too little melanin in my skin.
I don't know. I feel like there's probably some
shit, buddy. I gotta dig a little deeper.
Their name is probably like El Blanco. So this next video kind of plays off the previous video when we were talking about how the elitists kind of built themselves like a pedestal And he's basically explaining the Gilded Age 2.0 right here. So go ahead and roll that, Bell.
Every time I see another ultra wealthy
Katy Perry saying, "You will never know the love that you have inside of you until the day you launch," is the modern equivalent of "let them eat cake." Sheer contempt of these 6 passengers flying into space, spending the entire space flight like showing off and making social media content, like Katy Perry showing her concert tour set list. Love that. Maybe you look out the window while you're up there, champ. That'd be a good idea. And the temerity to say this is a step forward for feminism. This has nothing to do with feminism. In fact, I say it's completely coincidental that 6 incredibly wealthy people happened to be women. This did not progress the cause of women. What are you talking about? This didn't do anything to show us the remarkable women in STEM and other fields that deserve to be on that spot instead of you. And the fact that there was this moment where Katy Perry went past like a flight engineer or someone working on the rocket and was like, "Hey, do you want to go up there one day?" And they were like, "Of course I do." Why would this person dedicate their life to this if it didn't in some way, shape, or form interest them to go to space? Like, all it did was show completely out of touch 1%ers who really look at all of us with sheer contempt, that all we're here to do is to indulge their wildest whims. And really, it did the exact opposite of what it set out to do. It made me think of all of them with the greatest of disrespect. And it's giving French Revolution vibes. Let them eat cake. Like, how much do you have to push into people's faces you have more than them? And then when anyone criticizes you, go, "No, it's because you're a misogynist." No, I'm not. It's because you are a selfish person. Follow me for more legal TikTok.
Not to mention, I'm really upset that he did not mention that Jeff Bezos' boner kept him from breaking his face on the ground as he went to try and get Sanchez out there. I'm really upset. Like because Jeff Bezos is super privileged, lots of money, so he can afford that giant boner that saved him from falling into that hole.
They call
It's
him
real.
Trap,
It's true.
Yeah, maybe you go down on her, dude. Don't be selfish. Don't be a sexist.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, Sanchez is decently attractive.
All right, so this next one is literally the Proud Boys doing what they criticize, like people from like Black Lives Matter type movements and NAACP, of talking about like race, right? And so this right here I thought was really fucking interesting. Go ahead and roll it.
Would you be willing to stand by me in a press conference or in an individual interview and talk about this issue that is larger than Austin at
So
this
this
point?
Proud Boys
God
guy
rest
is
his
talking to the
beautiful
Austin
young man
Met
soul
class
that would have
dad.
been one of our strongest voices if he was still alive today. Yes, I am, sir. That's called white guilt. No, let it talk. You're creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness, sir. You are creating more Austin Metcalfs
Black
with your
man
weakness.
Here, you are being weak. I gotta be honest with you about that, sir.
You're being weak.
It's just
Are you about to support the Proud Boys?
no, the race baiting that he is doing there about 2 young kids were just probably being dumb, and one was dumber than the other and pulled out a knife.
Oh, dude, this idea that folks on the right like to pull out about folks on the left, and they're not wrong most of the time when they say it, that the left is just a bunch of race baiters with BLM and Antifa and, you know, the George Floyd protests and all this stuff. Like, there's some truth to what they're saying, but the thing is, dude, the right is just as race baity as the left. There's just no, like, to me, there's just no doubt. There's just no doubt about it, because you get like this vibe of, what do they like to say that, you know, they like to point out that like black people can be just as racist as white people, which fundamentally is a true statement. We know this.
Yeah.
It's just this idea that they have to like push it in your face. Like they don't love the race debate. That, you know what I mean? Like white people on the right, that they love the race debate just as much as the people on the left love it. Because like people like this gentleman, or people like, I'm not going to name any names, but certain influencers on the right, they do the same fucking thing of like, if, you know, like they'll show a video of, you know, like a white guy beating up another white guy on the street. And you'll go, well, how much attention would this have gotten if it was a white guy beating up a black guy on the street? Like you're race baiting just as much as the left does. Like, go fuck yourself. I hate it. I hate that so much.
Yeah. This next one is I don't know if you've ever seen the video when Jon Stewart was calling out like Tucker Carlson and shit.
I don't know what you're about to play, but I'm interested.
Go ahead and play that one, Bell.
If I could just pick up something from the last time that I was out here, I'd made a bit of a.
Welcome to Crossfire. Less than 3 weeks before the election, we're going to take a break from campaign politics, sort of. Joining us will be Jon Stewart, host of The Daily Show and Comedy Central, and co-author of a new bestseller entitled America, the Book.
I made a special effort to come on the show today because I have privately, amongst my friends and also in occasional newspapers and television shows, mentioned this show as being bad. And I felt that wasn't fair, and I should come here and tell you that it's not so much that it's bad as it's hurting America. So I wanted to come here today and say,
wait.
Here's just what I wanted to tell you guys.
Yeah.
Stop. Stop hurting America.
Okay, now
and come work for us, because we, as the people.
How do you pay?
The people, not well.
Better than CNN, I'm sure.
But you can sleep at night. See, the thing is, we need your help. Right now you're helping the politicians and the corporations, and we're left out there to mow our lawns.
You just said we're too rough on them when they make mistakes.
No, you're not too rough on them. You're part of their strategies. You're partisan, what do you call it, hacks.
Wait, John, let me tell you something valuable that I think we do that I'd like to see you
something
do.
valuable?
Yeah, no, it's nice when politicians, and I'll tell you, when politicians come on,
yeah,
it's nice to get them to try and answer the question. And in order to do that, we try and ask them pointed questions. I want to contrast our questions with some questions you asked John Kerry recently.
If you want to compare your show to a comedy show, you're more than welcome to.
Here's the point.
If that's your goal,
no, it's not.
I wouldn't aim for us. I'd aim for Seinfeld.
Here's the problem.
That's a very good show.
Kerry won't come on this show. He will come on your show. Let me suggest why he wants to.
Well, we have civilized discourse.
Well, here's an example of civilized discourse. Here are 3 of the questions you asked John.
Yeah.
You have a chance to interview the Democratic nominee. You ask him questions such as, quote, how are you holding up? Is it hard not to take the attacks personally?
Yeah.
Have you ever flip-flopped, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah.
Didn't you feel like you got the chance to interview the guy? Why not ask him a real question instead of just suck up to him?
Yeah, how are you holding up is a real suck up, and I actually was giving him a hot stone massage.
It sounded that way.
As we were doing it.
It did.
You know, it's interesting to hear you talk about
I felt the
my
sparks
responsibility to the, you know, I didn't realize that, and maybe this explains quite a bit.
No, the opportunity
is that the news organizations look to Comedy Central for their cues on integrity. So what I would suggest is, when you talk about you're holding politicians' feet to the fire, I think that's disingenuous. I think you're.
How are you holding up? I mean, come on.
No. I don't. But my role isn't. I don't.
You can ask him a real question, don't you think? Instead of saying, you know.
I don't think I have to. By the way, I also asked him, you know, where you in Cambodia, but I didn't really care, because I don't care, because I think it's stupid. Well, but my point is this. If your idea of confronting me is that I don't ask hard-hitting enough news questions, we're in bad shape, fellas.
We're here to love you, not confront you.
No. But what I'm saying is this. I'm not. I'm here to confront you because we need help from the media, and they're hurting us. And it's
I thought that was a pretty good video. Yeah.
What was your takeaway from that?
Oh, that was just like a very rare like peek behind the curtains of how, you know, like Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, they all have their narratives, almost like a script that's given to them, to where they, based on whatever partisan side they're on in the political ideological spectrum, they explain away the misgivings of their side and then double down on the misgivings of the other side. And both sides does that. And when they do that constantly, it just causes a divide in this country that I think is fabricated.
Yeah, based on who watches which network.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an interesting point, right? Because I feel like that is the thing that is shrinking at an exponential rate. It's the reason that we're having Twitter debates about like who won the Douglas Murray versus Dave Smith debate, right? And it's just it's so obvious to people with principles that Dave Smith won that debate. I don't know if that is somehow a controversial statement, but I'm making it. And you still have people like Mark Levin getting on Twitter, and not just Mark Levin, but others, talking about how Douglas Murray embarrassed Dave Smith. What an embarrassment for the comedian that isn't an expert on anything. And what I find interesting about that was that we're still kind of working it out, because we're at a spot now where people that 4 years ago were talking about how the expert class didn't know what it was talking about as it pertains to how governments dealt with COVID are now the ones getting on podcasts and Twitter and whatever platform going, you got to have more experts. Without experts, how do we know what the truth is? Isn't that interesting? How right. Now
well, the experts don't do the best at telling the truth, so that's why people are going to alternative things. It's like the Andrew Tate thing, right? People are going to alternative options because the product that you're offering is bad.
Yeah, it's like actually Jordan Peterson was just on Joe Rogan, which is how you know the fact that I'm talking about this just demonstrates that we have no female listeners. But Jordan made a very interesting point where he talked about just Andrew Tate in general, and he said, "I completely understand why young men are going to Andrew Tate. I get why they're going to Andrew Tate. I don't think what Andrew Tate basically, I mean, he could articulate this better than I could, but it's basically, I understand why they're going to Andrew Tate, but I don't think Andrew Tate is offering them anything productive, essentially, is what Jordan said. And I fully agree with that. I get it. I get why a young man who is stuck with no prospects, girls always rejecting him without realizing why they're rejecting him, because if he did, he would do better. But say you're in that position, you could understand why you would go to a guy like Andrew Tate, because Jordan Peterson's point was you would rather be Andrew Tate than be yourself in that situation, right? You would rather be the guy with a lot of money and constantly banging different women all the time and living it up the way that Andrew Tate does, right? Think about it, Corey. If you're an incel, if you're not me or you or even Bell, would you not rather be Andrew Tate than the kid in the basement jerking off to pornography and playing video games all day and wondering why women don't like you? Yeah, I think you'd rather be Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
I don't know what that had to do with that video you just played, but I felt like I had to say it.
I don't know. Male loneliness right now in our country is a big deal, and no one's really talking about it.
It is. It is.
The last video is for you specifically, Dan. I just figured you.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Should I get a drop ready? Do I need something here? Oh, here we go. She looks relatively attractive from that profile view.
Oh, that's not it.
Okay, so never mind. What the fuck is? Were you on shrooms when you found this?
No, I built this algorithm on my TikTok brick by brick.
That's terrible.
Oh no!
Why was that? Can you explain why that was for me?
I don't know. It wasn't for me. Like, you guys are gonna kick out of this. Look, the boys will like this one.
I don't understand what Donald Trump is. Does Donald Trump like? Look, what's the comparison to Donald Trump and Bobby Flay?
I don't
understand.
I don't know either.
You know what's funny is, like, you know what it reminded me of? This latest news that Kanye West sucked his cousin's dick. Did you guys see this?
Yeah, apparently he wrote it in a song.
He did write it in a song. We're not going to play it because I don't want to get copyright issues and all that bullshit. But like, Kanye is at a point now where he is trolling the world. Whatever he can say, however many swastika shirts he needs to wear. It's so funny that he's throwing out wearing swastika shirts and building music videos around a bunch of black guys wearing swastika shirts in like a Orthodox Jewish neighborhood, while also putting out a song about sucking his cousin's dick. Like, he is fucking with every single corner of the political spectrum. And you could say that that's genius.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Just there's no end. There's no end to. So is it Kanye's brilliant, or is it that he's gotten to a point now where he's like to a point of irrelevancy that he's uncomfortable with? Because he's not irrelevant at all.
I think it's Kanye has some sort of chemical imbalance in his brain that makes him impulsive and manic.
Are you saying he's autistic? Maybe RFK can do something about that.
That's all I had.
Can you like shut up?
That's all I had.
All right.
Pistons.
Libservative Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
Bell the Body Snatcher on the ones and twos. He as always has been Corey Walsh.
He's Dan Griffin.
It's been Libservative, intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. And don't forget, the world's smartest podcast. And until next time.
We have white privilege.
And we are out of here.
Peace.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back. Somebody must lead, or else the fight would not be made at all.